With billions of burgers sold, have you ever wondered how the founders of McDonald's lived? Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we are uncovering not only the mansions, but the controversial story behind the world's largest fast food chain. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. The story of McDonald's humbly begins in Manchester, New Hampshire, where brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald were born to Irish immigrants. They grew up in poverty, having to spend their childhoods working for whatever money they could contribute to their family. In search of a better life, the brothers moved to California in the 1920s, chasing the American dream. After dabbling in Hollywood and running a small movie theater, they turned to the burgeoning drive-in restaurant business, opening their first stand near the Monrovia Airport in 1937. This initial venture offered hot dogs, the perfect fare for racetrack crowds, but the brothers had bigger aspirations, and in 1940 they relocated to San Bernardino, a working-class town, and opened McDonald's Barbecue. The drive-in restaurant featured car hops, an extensive menu, and a thriving crowd of teenagers hanging out at all hours, and families stopping by for quick meals. Still, the brothers weren't satisfied. They recognized the inefficiencies of their operation and saw potential for something revolutionary. In 1948, the McDonald brothers shuttered their successful restaurant, not to retire, but to reinvent. They slashed the menu to focus on their top sellers, hamburgers, fries, and milkshakes. The car hops were replaced with self-service windows, and the kitchen was overhauled into choreographed assembly lines they called the Speedy Service System. Every step was engineered for speed and consistency. Customers could order a meal for 15 cents and receive it within minutes. At first, the changes puzzled their local patrons, but soon a new clientele emerged. Working-class families drawn to the low prices, fast service, and dependable quality. By the early 1950s, word of the McDonald brothers' efficiency had spread, and other entrepreneurs flocked to their San Bernardino location to learn their methods. Among these admirers was Ray Kroc, a traveling milkshake mixer salesman who noticed the brothers had purchased an unusually large number of multi-mixers. Intrigued, he visited their restaurant in 1954 and was astounded by what he saw, a bustling operation serving hundreds of satisfied customers with lightning speed. Kroc recognized potential on a scale the brothers hadn't even considered. Now, Kroc could not have come from a more opposite background. He grew up in an upper-middle-class family from the always fashionable suburb of Chicago, Oak Park, Illinois. He was able to attend good schools and get a head start on life, a privilege the McDonald brothers had never known. Kroc persuaded them to let him franchise their system, promising to handle all the work while they enjoyed their quiet success. In 1955, Kroc opened the first McDonald's franchise in Des Plaines, Illinois, under a new company he founded, McDonald's Systems Incorporated. He aggressively expanded the brand, introducing standardized menus, training programs, and stringent quality controls. Meanwhile, Richard and Maurice remained content running their original location and enjoying the fruits of their labor. But Kroc had bigger dreams and growing frustrations. The brothers resisted Kroc's push for rapid expansion, preferring to keep their operations small and manageable with their existing 20 locations. In 1961, Kroc offered to buy them out for $2.7 million, enough to give each brother $1 million after taxes, the modern equivalent of over $10 million apiece. The brothers agreed and set about enjoying their lives. Growing up poor, they spent their childhoods working and never really had a chance to just relax. Richard moved back to Bedford, purchasing a modest house at the end of a cul-de-sac where he could live out the rest of his life privately without worrying about money. Maurice stayed in San Bernardino in the house that he and his brother had built back in the 1930s. He also purchased a house out in Palm Springs. Once again, just to further contrast the McDonald brothers and Kroc, Kroc already had a house in Palm Springs, and there was nowhere for him to go but up. The house was over 5,000 square feet and had a huge swimming pool. The interior was about as fashionable as you could get for the time period and filled with expensive furniture and artwork. But what the McDonald brothers considered their dream house, Kroc considered his launching point. He sold the home to Elvis Presley in 1970 with plans to move on to something much larger. Before we move on to Kroc's mega mansion, there are some lingering tensions that need to be addressed. Kroc did not acquire the original San Bernardino McDonald's location, which the brothers renamed the Big M. In a move emblematic of his ruthless business tactics, Kroc opened a competing McDonald's nearby, ultimately driving the Big M out of business. Under Kroc's leadership, McDonald's transformed into a global empire. By the time of his passing in 1984, there were over 7,500 locations in 31 countries, serving billions of hamburgers and generating billions in revenue. Yet the McDonald's brothers' contributions were largely overshadowed by Kroc's relentless branding of himself as the sole visionary behind the Golden Arches. Journalists even interviewed Richard after he was accused of falsely claiming he had founded McDonald's with his brother, after Kroc credited himself for building the brand from the ground up in Des Plaines. Of course, his projected reality was not history, and his misguided ego led to some very credible authors and journalists echoing his claims. With that cleared up, let's head over to Santa Ynez, California to explore Jane Dare Double Arch Ranch. In 1966, Kroc purchased the 554-acre estate and immediately set about transforming it into his own pleasure park. Several lakes were planned to dot the gently rolling landscape, as well as putting greens, tennis courts, and pools. After the nearly 17,000 square foot main lodge was completed, he never stopped expanding, adding on to the property and constructing outbuildings and guest quarters until he had a total of 52 bedrooms and over 50 bathrooms. If you wanted to do business with Kroc, you came to him. He hosted corporate retreats for his executives where he had plenty of room to house and entertain them all. Whether it was through team-building exercises involving riding horses down at the stables or taking canoes out onto the lakes, he wanted to foster a culture of connection with those below him in the company. While we could spend weeks exploring the grounds, I think it's about time we make our way over to the main lodge. Designed by architect Glenn Marshbanks Jr., the main lodge contains 25 suites. Swinging open its double doors, we arrive in the entrance hall clad in wood paneling on one side with rusticated stone on the other. This opens into the 3,000 square foot family room, which is dominated by a floor-to-ceiling fireplace. Set in alcoves off this space, we find the billiards room and a bar sitting adjacent to each other. Let's turn around and make our way further into the house to find the dining room. The dining room once again boasts exposed beams running along the vaulted ceiling and was designed to hold 100 guests. Just beyond the dining room is the kitchen, where the Egg McMuffin was reportedly invented. In one of the nearby buildings is a theater room which can hold over 60 people for a screening. And a bit further away on the property is the Roundhouse, which originally was designed to serve as a medical library. Kroc's brother was a medical researcher who used the space to hold his extensive book collection and conduct groundbreaking research into conditions such as arthritis and diabetes. Though in the true fashion of the 1970s, when the Roundhouse was built, it came complete with a central sunken seating area around the fireplace. Following the Kroc's passing, the house changed hands and is now known as the Circle K Ranch, which, at the time of me making this video, is currently on the market for $25 million. Despite the history of how J&R Double Arch Ranch came to be, the legacy of McDonald's is undeniable. The brothers' revolutionary assembly line kitchen and Kroc's franchising prowess together reshaped not only the fast food industry, but also global dining habits. It's a story that, like the burgers themselves, has become a quintessential portion of Americana. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Let me know your thoughts on this video, the story, and the house down below in the comment section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.